Hey guys! Alright, we're gonna kind of continue our journey through some of these endocrine glands here with continuing, not starting, the adrenal glands. Also, real quick apology for my kind of bar being down here. It's really obnoxious and annoying, but I'm having a hard time. Oh, there we go. Trying to get it to go away. All right, so the adrenal glands, right? So the adrenal glands are actually right here on top of the kidney. So they're these like almost look like orange slices that are just placed right on top of the superior or top of your kidney, right? So you have two of them, left and right sides, sitting on top of the kidney, right? So it's kind of split up into something called the outer cortex and the inner medulla. We're not going to get super into separating those two parts, but just know that the outer cortex is clearly going to be the outer portion of the adrenal gland, while the inner medulla is just more on the inside towards the middle or center part. So it kind of makes sense with their name, being outer or inner, right? So your adrenal glands are very, very important. They're sitting on top of the kidneys because it's all about that fight or flight response that we kind of spoke about with the nervous system, right? So we have the outer cortex that's going to secrete hormones in response to chemical signals in the blood, while the inner medulla is governed by the autonomic nervous system. So look, our autonomic nervous system, which is why we learn about this right after the nervous system, because they, again, can be directly related. So the nervous system can govern a part of these hormones, right? So specialized to secrete adrenomedullary hormones, again, fight or flight, which we know is norepinephrine or epinephrine, right? So anytime you watch any medical show and they're screaming about pushing 10 of epi, this is what we're talking about as epinephrine, right? So people just shorten it to epi instead of saying its name 50 million times. It's a little long. And it helps to enhance certain mechanisms of the body, again, like increasing blood pressure, heart rate. So when someone is crashing, it's something that can be administered to help, which is why you hear them screaming about, quickly, push 10 epi. It's the epinephrine, right? So part of the autonomic nervous system and our endocrine system that is secreted by the inner parts of the adrenal glands. Again, our little orange slices right here on top of the kidney. Right. So something else that it also is going to be control are steroid hormones, right? So way back when we talked about the muscular system, we talked a little bit about steroids and how there are natural occurring ones, clearly, and then there's steroids that we enhance to enhance our body's muscle fatigue and repair, but we won't talk about those again. So we're going to focus on natural steroids that your body actually is going to create, like glucocorticoids, right? So this helps to regulate glucose, protein metabolism, just meaning breaking down protein, inflammatory reaction, meaning tissues becoming inflamed because of disease, and helping with the immune system. So glucocorticoids are important. Gluco is in there, so again, its main thing is about regulating glucose, those things are related, and just helping with the immune system. All right. Androgens, they affect sexual characteristics, right? Sex drive, development of things like facial hair in men. So this is a steroid hormone, meaning that these are going to enhance any type of sexual characteristic that's different between male and female. So what's interesting is, again, when you're affecting these steroid hormones within the body, taking things like anabolic steroids, you are messing with this kind of realm here. So that's why it seems like when people take steroids, men actually lose the ability to grow facial hair, while women have the opposite effect where you actually you can grow facial hair, which is kind of interesting how that works. Again, and this is the direct hormone that stimulates sexual drive, right? Which is actually very much also within the brain, a little bit part of like what's considered the more inner part, right? Like old brain, because it is a mechanism that has been around, right? Making sure that we actually reproduce to make more little mini humans. You also have mineral corticoids. So this, again, it sounds like it's named mineral, right? Helping to influence the kidney in handling things like sodium and potassium. So you need minerals in your body, right, digestive system. So this is going to help to regulate that by either taking in more or getting rid of an excess amount, right? So it controls how the kidney is going to either reabsorb or kind of let pass through into the urethra, leaving into your urine, right? So this is very important. Natural steroids are very important for, again, regulating glucose, sexual characteristics, and helping the kidneys with handling things like minerals, sodium, potassium. All right, cortisol. All right. Now, the release of glucocorticoids, cortisol is a main hormone secreted, right? So when glucocorticoids are released, cortisol is also. Talked about this throughout so far that too much of this can be bad. A lot of times this is released when the body is going through very stressful situations, injury, or any kind of trauma, right? So what happens is the hypothalamus secretes a greater amount of the corticotropin releasing hormone, or CRH, in response to these things. So what happens is if your body's going through immense stress, it's going to produce a lot, and the adrenal glands are going to kind of go into overdrive. Anything that causes the body to kind of freak out and produce something more is not good, right? We like to believe that, the more of something you have, the better it is. Not necessarily. Having too much of this hormone actually will cause your body to kind of go out of whack, right? Which we've listed plenty of things. Dealing with stress, I am going to have you kind of go through like a little mini activity dealing about stress, right? About understanding how stress affects the body and why, especially now, which is awesome, it's preached about a lot of more taking care of yourself and taking that moment to kind of relax, because stress can really damage your body a lot. It can actually cause things like your hair to fall out, muscle fatigue, and your muscles can actually slightly decrease in mass, a loss of appetite, or an increase, meaning that you just completely gorge yourself, which can increase weight. It's kind of crazy. Stress can cause things like migraines. It can manifest in all different kinds of pain. So it's crazy that your body, when subjected to something like that, is going to like super overproduce these hormones. All right. So cortisol's influence, again, stimulating glucose, so increasing the availability of raw materials. So again, glucose, that's one of our macromolecules. So then proteins are also broken down into amino acids, and then fat is stored in adipose tissue. It's going to inhibit the immune system activity and suppress inflammatory reaction. When you are stressed out, you are more likely or more easily able to get sick, which is, again, very scary, because if you're stressed out about getting sick, you're actually putting yourself in way of getting sick, because if you're stressed, your immune system becomes a little suppressed and then you're more susceptible. So it's crazy, again, how the super creation of just this one hormone, especially from the adrenal glands, can really affect the body. All right, two things real quick are what happens when there's a problem immediately with the adrenal glands. So there's something called Cushing's syndrome, right? So an excess of cortisol can cause an actual disease or / disorder, right? So Cushing's syndrome, what happens is obesity and fat disposition happens at an increasing rate. Again, when you're stressed, you might stress eat, meaning you're going to have a lot more of these raw materials and your body doesn't know what to do with them, right? If you have too many carbs, your body's like, I don't know what to do with this. So it starts depositing all of this in fat deposits, right? So things like, it can go to places like the face, the shoulder, the back, a lot of times around like the hip-like area. So it can cause an increased amount of obesity. Easily bruising and skin striations, meaning your body is healing slower, right? It suppresses your immune system. So if it's suppressing your immune system, it's suppressing your body's way to protect itself. Diabetes, that will be in the next thing that we're going to talk about, right? So it actually is like a precursor to having diabetes, and there's different types, so we'll talk about that. Fluid retention and high blood pressure. Again, when all of these things are being created, your heart and your arteries are working overtime, so you're going to have a higher blood pressure. Frequent infections, like I said, suppressing the immune system, so that's a problem. And excess body hair. So places that grow hair, which we should know from our integumentary system, it's going to increase that amount. So you'll see almost more back hair, more armpit hair, and more chest hair growth. One other syndrome or disease I want to talk about is Addison's, right? So what happens when the adrenocorticoid hormone is insignificant or it's not secreting enough? This is actually an autoimmune disorder, right, which can cause the destruction of your adrenal glands. We have said before that autoimmune diseases means that the body's immune system doesn't understand how to take care of itself, right? So your adrenal glands are being destroyed. This is going to be a loss of creating that hormone, the glucocorticoid hormone. So now you're having a lower blood sugar levels, causing a very low cardio output, meaning you don't have enough energy. So that can be really, really bad for your heart. You're going to see a loss in the mineral corticoids hormone, again, which is the most dangerous because now you're not even retaining important minerals in the body like salt and potassium, which can extremely lower your blood pressure. And then that means that the blood volume being pumped throughout your body is now lowered, right? So you might losing the our other hormones, like the sexual characteristics, is still a big deal, but it's not going to kill you. It's really not being able to keep up your blood sugar and retaining things like sodium especially. So as much as it's scary having your adrenal glands work too hard, meaning you're stressed, you also want to make sure that they are working, because when they are not, literally major functions start to steadily decrease, right? So kind of fun fact. President John F. Kennedy actually needed a daily dose of adrenocorticoid hormones in order to make sure that his body was performing normally. So that's kind of really crazy. All right, so what I'm going to have you do now is you're going to go to our little half sheets. There's a half sheet on the adrenal glands. You'll answer those questions and upload the picture whenever you happen to be done with answering the questions. I do want to take 1 second to say thank you so much for answering that survey. I know I'm giving you points for it, but it's your honesty and your input and feedback actually really means a lot to me, because it helps me understand how you guys are doing so I can make sure I know how to structure things from now on. I know some people don't think this is helpful. That's okay. You'll always get a voiceover version. You'll always get the hard copy version. I am going to keep I'll put up links for Google Hangouts if you have a face-to-face question. So going to do whatever we can to keep moving forward, trying to look at some online labs, so that way we're not completely losing that hands-on aspect. So thank you for just answering truthfully and honestly. It really has been helpful, and I really miss you guys. All right. And we are done.